just the hills of the south. Actually, more like cliffy, tall, sharp, annoying mountains. Once, rolling rocky hills of the west had herds of sheep, and now as you travel you see only the occasional mountain goat, and it's in the far distant. The land seems poor, and it seems unlikely that any house could really prosper in it, if not for the promise, of course, that it is full of gold. The roads in the Westlands are in great condition, dotted with guard posts, and generally safe travel is assured. Not just safe, fast and inconvenient as well. The guards you meet on your way are vigilant, but few. Likely many of them have been sent off to the Riverlands, leaving the few that remain slightly overworked and happy to see other armed men in Lannister colors, even if you just stay for an evening before moving on. Through your travels, however, as has been discussed, a single thought remains. All of you know it, or at least hope it, and there seems to be no simple answer to it anymore. At one point in the near future, you will have to travel the other way. The mountains are slow and cumbersome, and the dogs of the west will be impossible to outrun in there. The roads are, however, well watched, and the knights of the west will have little trouble finding you on them. When the thought comes up, most simply give a companion a glance. Perhaps when the road guarding soldiers banter about the security of the roads, or how they could all be asleep and still know that someone passed the guard post, as the many dogs, which are pretty much kept at every guard post, barks whenever a unfamiliar smell is approaching. Then again, perhaps being so far along this journey to think of a return trip is a blessing in of itself. Traveling here, sort of getting further and further north, you basically avoid many of the keeps. They are not on the road here. The road is fairly straight. It is not as big as the ocean road or any of the great roads sponsored by the king, basically. But it is fairly broad and big enough for two carts to go side by side. It is well kept, and it does take you pretty straightly north, with side roads going to the various keeps you pass on the way. You travel generally through what seems to be valleys in the very sort of jagged mountains. There is almost no vegetation on the mountainsides, and they seem like they would be very difficult to climb, as many of them are made of this sort of dry clay substance, stone, that if you stepped on it too hard would just sort of crumble and slide down in big plates and flakes. The ground here is dry, not really a lot growing here except for some pine trees and a few bushes of ill-smelling berries. As you, are informed anyway by the different guard posts, that you're nearing the lands of the Rains, Castamere, and as you begin to see the first, perhaps, guard post in the distance that has the sort of red flag with the white line on it, the territory of House Rain, what goes through your characters' minds? You're almost there, almost at your destination, so close that you can, literally begin to see it. Soon you'll have to do more than just travel. Soon you'll have to figure out a way to infiltrate and to exfiltrate, and then figure out what to do next.
Yep.
What are you thinking?
Varen has mostly been thinking about the return trip, and suddenly arriving here, it sort of hits him like a sledgehammer in the face, that he actually has to get in there and rescue the Longthorn first. And that's no small task to do. And he's in shock for a while. like as the whole situation just calms down on him.
I know Alaric is also thinking of the return journey, but he only seems to ever manage to think maybe a league or two away from Castamere before realizing we still have to escape Castamere. Which, as soon as it's mostly underground, it's gonna be a labyrinth. And it worries him, but he tries not to show it.
Ren has given little thought about the exacts of getting in. He's more or less kind of put that to the side of, that will probably turn out. We've got a good team of people. They'll probably manage. What's going through his mind is, okay, we get out. What if they're wounded? Trying to get away from things and being wounded? This is going to make it difficult. You know, he's thinking about it from the point of a doctor, and how is he going to try and manage people if people are injured and we are being chased? That does not make for easy treating.
Bree is fantasizing about what personal accolade she will win for her part in doing all these things. 12-year-old girl fucking rescuing her lord's lord. Oh man. House Tyrell being indebted not just to Caladan, but to her. Ah. The peasants were terrified of her before. It's enough to make her happy. And it's...
Long may...
She doesn't have like her mindset on like one specific thing she wants so much as like all of it showering upon her, the adulation, the glory of it. And people chanting, "Bree, Bree, Bree, Bree." You know, perhaps peasants finally appreciating her. It'll be great.
It's a terrifying thought.
Some people are worried about victory. For her, victory is certain.
Dorian seems, as the travel goes along, he sort of has the sort of flickering eyes going to side, and the step of a man who's really regretting where he's going. Perhaps he's thinking that this is a stupid idea, or that he maybe is not cut out for this, or that this was a bad plan, or what the plan actually is, or maybe he's just feeling a bit of pressure. He's generally a very practical man, and he doesn't seem to like the idea of walking into a well-defended castle of a major enemy house just with a group of 9 people. Answer seems unconcerned, really. He hasn't really done much during the traveling other than travel. He's sort of running out a little bit of bluster at this point. Nothing much has really happened since Lannisport, and there nothing really happened for him either. He has blustered a little bit about how afraid they are and such, but mostly it seems that he's quieting down. This could perhaps be a sign that even he may be considering that this might actually be a challenge. Maybe you don't want to look stupid if you declare too much before you actually get in battle. Eden Riceley has sort of Esher declared that he will not leave this place if anyone of this group is left behind. If someone is not dead, but wounded, and others would try to run without them, he promises each and every one of you that he will stay behind defending you to the very end. He will try to carry you out on his back while fighting off all who might oppose him in doing so.
he burns his destiny to like stack up like Alaric and like or like wood and like one over each shoulder.
He says that his fate is linked to all of yours, and should it come to that, and he is the one wounded, he will not hold it against you should you decide to leave him behind. He says that with closed eyes, like he really means it.
Permission to abandon. Do it.
Usually this is the time where someone would jokingly say something, but, well, at least Manza doesn't, and Sir Ashra doesn't either. He has grown quiet and resolute, perhaps. His mouth simply a thin line. The words of Eden leaving sort of a bit of an empty space behind, as no one is saying, no, we wouldn't, or it will not come to that. Kevin probably is panicking a little bit, looking to everyone, hoping that it doesn't come to him having to keep everyone safe in the mountains, because what if he fails? Oh god, that would be horrible. You can't feed that many people. It's literally impossible to feed that many people. A cart without food, and you know.
How many others of these knights are clumsy? Like just because these mountains are easier doesn't mean they're easy.
Yeah.
They're also a lot taller and it doesn't know the terrain, so...
It is not as hot, and not as hot to find water as it was in there, but the terrain in mountains are generally crap for heavily armored, or people who are used to being heavily armored, to move around in. People who are not very agile. People who are heavy, strong, and boisterous, and such.
What more than half of the group is.
Yes. And with that, well, you near yourself to the castle of Castamere. It seems small at first from in the distant. A simple wall, a river diverted to make a moat, a couple of square towers, the winding road leading up to the castle, long unprotected from the winds that seek to push you off of it. The castle, as you move closer to it, is built along a cliffside. The main keep only having 3 walls. There is no castle town as you would have had it in the Reach. Whatever workers and guards and servants that live here live in a few big buildings inside the half-circle wall, sort of again facing up against the cliff. You know that the nobility of Castamere used to live in the center building? A sort of smallish keep sort of thing. But that centuries ago, they began instead to live in the refurnished depths of the mountain. They're used to the darkness, so are their gods, and the stale air within their refurnished mining tunnels doesn't bother them as it will you. A huge network that, if taken into account, makes Castamere one of the largest castles in Westeros. Still, if any of you were to put your head to the rock and just listen, you would hear the distant echoes from below of pickaxes hitting rock and many carts being dragged around. Digging in these places is not glorious work. It is not pleasant work. But as you look around the sort of desolate mountain landscape, it is the only work. And Dark can't hear us then? I would assume.
God damn it, Brexit people.
Hey, I'm having...
Happens.
So much regret.
Hey, I have
We
no
could have been
regret,
better
alright?
together, but no.
At least you still have the tears.
God damn it.
We got this, right?
Yeah. I'll just scroll up.
It's your destiny to carry your Lord's Lord out of here, Sir Alaric. Or maybe this is how you become a legitimized bastard. Baron.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, if in doubt, Dark doesn't get his Skype back up, I can at least. I do at least know.
I think he will. He's probably just restarting it.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
That would be the sensible thing.
There's your bro.
Wouldn't it?
Hallelujah.
Hello.
Hello, Dark. Can you hear us?
I'm back.
Are you here?
Hi.
Wonderful. Just wonderful.
Sounds so sincere.
You move. Wait, did you say something, Cougar?
No.
Okay. That's wonderful too. You
God damn it.
you move towards the gate. Not really many other ways to go this time. The main road is quite far below you, really, as you have been sort of going up this sort of snaking road, slowly moving you up in elevation, without actually taking you very far, sort of directly. You see the two square towers that make out the sort of gatehouse, and along it a fair number of guards, all with their crossbows that you at this point know so well at a distance, so to speak. You also see that on the gate there's not just the sort of the big flag, as well, there is the big flag of House Rain, but there are also a lot of other smaller flags sort of hanging over the side. These would be the sort of nightly banners that you would bring when you're going someplace and want to show that you're here, and that you're here as not just a guest, but as an ally, basically. It's the sort of thing that you would in a camp, a war camp, you would have it flying above your little part of the war camp. There is a boar. There's, well, a lion. There's a strange, like, peacock. Quite a few different animals. Not that they all necessarily sort of say much or do much for you. I'll ask you to copy your tokens.
Yep.
It's easier for me that way.
I will copy Keevan's.
Who am I kidding? I'll just copy all of them. I have people I need to transport anyway.
Sure.
Good guy, Manica.
I realized that it's actually no easier for you to copy them. I'll have to go back and forth anyway. Let's just grab the round table here. Take everyone. You're sucked into a portal bringing you to someplace else. Bringing you, in fact, to Castamere.
Only one of 45.
Yep.
Woo, loaded spring break!
It's been so long since I've seen the loading screen.
Loading.
Has it though?
Yes, but my
See one
computer,
when you-
my computer hasn't been like taking any longer. It's just been instantly loading these.
Ah, okay.
And we have been
Alright,
using.
I still have this feeling that I should make the maps not super mega long, but super mega huge. But maybe that's my mistake. Maybe I should be
It's probably fine.
bigger than that.
You probably don't need more loading screens, but
Yeah.
Oh.
Cue the elevator music while everything loads.
Do,
Um,
do, 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 do.
Though I
Oh, that's
think
not
I'm
elevator music,
done.
that's fine.
I think I'm done, although I see nothing.
the correct screen
no,
to
there
see
it
is
is.
black.
There it is.
What more? Yay!
I
Oh my
I
God.
misread
All
the
of our
title.
friends.
I will say I misread the title of Eric Preston on a brief glance.
Looking forward to your game plan here, Master Tactician.
Storm the castle.
We're getting in under,
Monty Python style charge.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Oh shit.
Yes, we are sieging Castamere with 10 people.
Of course, have your wagon.
It is my destiny to take these walls.
Earthquake.
I burn Destiny Point. There's a giant hole in the wall. Wait, what?
Something like this, perhaps. Rewriting the wagon with Kievan.
As I sound the trumpet, the walls crumble.
Oh god.
This was a magical trumpet. The first men made this trumpet with the help of the children of the forest.
To break Castamere. What?
Just to break Castamere. They saw far into the future. And
Yep.
The gatehouse lies ahead, and you move up. There's the gate, and there's of course the portcullis down and everything. There's all the nice banners, important people on the walls, people with loaded crossbows, just standing there. You're not really sort of pushing them, pointing them towards you, since you do carry like a Lannister banner and stuff. That usually means that they shouldn't shoot you or threaten you. So they don't. You see that there's that nice little distance in the gatehouse, it being big enough for it to have sort of the murder zone, where you're let in from a gate, and then they close that one, and then they open the other one if they want to, or they stab you with spears or something in the middle. You always wanted one of those back home.
I drew pretty pictures of it all with the
Could have like a mirror
Unfortunately,
hole.
Lannis had to cut it from the budget. There wasn't enough money.
Yeah, and Alaric wept for 5 days.
All the other knights have murder holes.
Yeah. Why can't I have a murder hole, Linus? God damn it.
How about like you bring back a ton of money, then we can talk.
I just
Do it again.
All I want is a hatch above them that I can just pour molten metal all over them. It'd be great. Come on.
No.
Well, all you need is stone and plebs, right?
Yeah. It doesn't cost that much, surely.
You have a good sword, just go stab them.
Basically move, and when you come within a decent enough size, long enough that you could run for a little bit and still get shot a few times in the back by quite a few of the crossbowmen, a man dressed in sort of a nice brigandine armor, very ornate, and with a big sort of red bull on his chest, basically calls out from the walls and says, "Who hails there?"
I believe Asher wanted to take the lead, didn't he?
Asher sort of says, "We but wary travelers from Lannisport. We've come all this way to." Sort of takes a bit of it. Says to bring a poem in the form of song to a lady who is being kept here.
Did Alaric talk to Bree about this?
Did he?
I mean, Alaric pretty much, like, if it was written down, just kind of said, like, this is a poem to a lady.
Oh, that wasn't actually a poem.
No? Okay. Sure. Then Alaric will just tell her, there's a poem. Imagination. I never really wrote poems, so, yeah. Okay, I guess. Ask Ashra, maybe Kievan. Shrugs.
The man on the wall frowned slightly, visibly. The man next to him sort of moves over and whispers something in his ear. As he looks up down at you again and says, well, come closer, come in. Open the gate. As you hear the ticking sound of the gate being opened for you.
Step 2, a success. I guess we all move in as like a group.
Spirits be away, oh wagon people.
God damn it.
Just grab
Good work, Dark.
all you people as you move inside.
Yeah.
The wagon's going to be handled by little people. Who cares? There's nothing important in there anyway. Asher wasn't so ostentatious as to take his like Tyrell armor in there. He wanted it, but then it was considered that someone would probably like take the stuff in there and like put it somewhere where it's supposed to be, and that didn't really. I mean,
Not the best idea.
yeah. Then they would see, and that would be awkward. So in the end, he left it in Lannisport.
The conversation just would have been so awkward, and
He was very sad that he had to leave it there. Going in here, the two important people from the wall have sort of gone down and exited the tower. Walking up, this guy too. Looking at the gathering up and down. Just keeps his distance. He is a fairly strong-looking man. His choice of weapon perhaps also reinforcing that fact, as he has a big maul sort of on his back. Yeah. Asher will sort of give him a nod, to which the man frowns slightly again and says, you are not accustomed to bow in Lannisport? Toichi Asher, surprised, sort of does a little awkward bow, which is not something clearly not something he's used to doing. Still try to deceive the man.
It's almost worth it for the social awkwardness here. Sir Asher Tyrell is taught his place.
Ethan Riceley looks at the two as if he wants to say something really mean-spirited to them. Doesn't seem like Manzur's going to stop him. Storenbus sacks a little bit behind towards the gatehouse. Uses a poem in the form of song. You'll have to explain that a little bit. Sort of once enter the courtyard as you will. These two begin to make their way, their long way, that is, as the courtyard is basically the little castle village here. Not just like peasant people and whatnot. Well, not really peasant, miners around doing stuff. Shall I see their buildings here?